Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. So today I have a book review for you, and the reason why I'm doing this book review is because I get asked how to get into vintage. Now, I think vintage is quite hard to get into if you kind of want to get to the point of wearing it, fully. So hair, makeup and clothes. And I think it's quite hard to do. But the book that I'm about to show you I think is great if you're interested in starting out wearing vintage. And that book is this one, This Old Thing by Dawn O. Porter, Fall in Love with Vintage Clothes. Now this, if you're in the UK, was a TV programme. It was called This Old Thing, and it took members of the public who kind of were in a bit of a rut with their wardrobes. So either they were kind of wearing the same thing over and over again, or they, were buying an excessively stupid amount of clothes and then wearing them like once, if that, and then just putting them to the back of the wardrobe. And they had completely fallen out of love with their kind of fashion style. And so Dawn would come in, she'd have a good look through her wardrobes and through the family's wardrobes as well, and see what she could find and think, this is a great piece, we'll keep this, or oh, this is your aunt's old dress or something, a vintage piece, this will look fantastic on you. And she takes it away and she gets them going into vintage shops, and eventually they kind of fall for that vintage look, and it's fantastic to see the results. So this is the book that accompanied the series. To date there's only one series. I don't know if they're going to be doing any more. I hope they will because it's awesome, but I know she's doing like her clothing line and things like that at the moment. But this is the end papers, which are, as you can see, kind of people dressed in vintage clothing, which is lovely. And then we open it up, and then we have, what we have is Dawn herself, and she's talking about how for her she got started into vintage clothes, which I think is always great, because with these kind of books you want to hear about how people get into vintage clothes, how they themselves fell for vintage, if they're trying to kind of inspire you to do it. So she goes from there and she talks about what is vintage, what isn't vintage, how to kind of sort your wardrobe out in preparation for vintage, because you don't just want to shove vintage clothes in, because vintage clothes need some room, they need air to breathe. And then of course, as you probably worked out already, she'll go through all the vintage decades. Now in here she actually goes from the 20s to the 80s. Now in my eyes the 70s and 80s aren't vintage, they're retro, but she's put them in here anyway. So I mean, some people like wearing 70s and 80s, and there's some fantastic pictures in here. There's photographs, there's pictures of like kind of people that she knows wearing these vintage outfits. There's pictures of herself wearing vintage outfits, like this one here. Something that is fantastic about this book is she talks about vintage for different shapes. I think it's brilliant to have something like this, which kind of says you're this shape and this would suit you. She then goes on to talk about some iconic styles such as wiggle dresses, maxi dresses, and then we talk about designer dresses, because of course we've got to stick some designer in there as well. And then the brilliant thing that I think that they have in here is this kind of DIY workshop. So this idea of the make, do and mend. When you have a vintage wardrobe, it can be a bit of a pain in the bum, because you do have to kind of keep on top of the maintenance of it. So things like just sewing on buttons, sorting out hems, because sometimes you'll buy an item and the hem's all funny, or they've taken it in over the years, so you just kind of have to readjust it or something. Learning how to clean it properly and how to get rid of kind of yellow age marks and things like that. So this is all in here, as well as things if you want to kind of lower the neckline, or make a Peter Pan collar there. That's interesting. And then in the last bit she tells you how and where you can shop online and on the high street, and then she talks about some of her very own pieces that she has in her collection. So me personally, I actually gave this book 3 out of 5 stars, because I am not the target audience. I am someone that is kind of established, so to speak, in kind of the vintage side of it. I do wear head to toe in vintage already. But this book is great if you're one of these people when you kind of think, do you know what, I would quite like to get into vintage, but I'm just not quite sure, I'm not 100% how to do it. If you're one of those kind of people, then this book is definitely the way to go. So it's This Old Thing, Dawn O. Porter. I will leave it for you down in the description box below if you want to get your hands on it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new and you're a lover of history, books, or vintage, then please hit the subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. And as usual, I will leave my Twitter and my Goodreads down in the description box as well, so you can go and follow me or add me as a friend, see what I'm up to on a day-to-day basis, or check out what I'm reading. So take care for now, and I shall see you soon for my next video. Bye!